You are watching the Halos in the Infield Podcast. From everything Halos to full series recaps to upcoming series projections for the fans, by the fans. Enjoy the show.
Hey, welcome into the show. We forgot to preview it. That's on me. What's up, Lone Star? I'm Todd Fox. How you doing, man?
Doing good. Happy to kick off. Officially what's going to be our 5th year together. Todd has always made the joke that him and I have been married to this project for 5 years now. I haven't gotten a ring yet from Todd, though, so take that for once.
It's in the mail, my friend. It's in the mail.
The scammers always say.
Yeah, right?
You can trade it for gold, and it's really not worth anything.
Absolutely. Well, on today's show, my man, we're going to say why ARTE was so right about things, right? Or he's been so, great with his predictions on how good this team's going to be.
Yeah. We'll start off with this. So what is ARTE right about? Now, people know here that we've always been very, very critical of the front office, right? That's no surprise for anyone who's been involved in any part of this essential 5 years. We are always the first to call the front office out. So we have to give credit where credit is due when the front office does something right. That's fair, right, Todd?
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's call it what it is. You and I are both in agreement. It seems like almost everyone else on the page is in agreement of this. The Angels are absolutely correct in every way, shape, or form to be giving out 1-year deals right now this offseason. You agree with that?
Oh, 100%. Now's the time to do it.
Yeah. Now, I know everyone's probably like, what the heck are you guys talking about? Now, guys, there's most likely going to be some form of lockout in 2027. I think most people know that that's coming. Now, what extent are we going to get a lockout? Are we going to miss the whole season? Are we going to just miss a couple games? We don't know. And we won't know until the time comes. You think it's going to be pretty extended, right?
Yeah, right now I'd say I'd lowball at 2 months, but I'd pick the over. I think we are going to miss about half the season because, long story short, I believe the league and it's the league and the Players Association are much like politicians. They want to fight for the title and for the empowerment and everything else like that, and they forget about the one thing that matters. And with politicians, it's the people. And with the league and with the Players Association, it's the fans. And they forget about how it's going to hurt the fans, how it's going to hurt the workers at the stadiums, how it's going to work the hotels or worsen it for the hotels and everybody else around them, and hurt the fans and they just don't care. So unless that's solved right away, I think baseball's egos, along with the association's egos, are just too big, man. So long story short, I think there is going to be an extended lockout.
Well, in all fairness, if there is a city that probably won't feel very much effect due to in tourism, it would probably be Anaheim. I would say Anaheim and the extended LA area has probably one of the safer tourism routes. I think that's fair to say. I don't think that's controversial.
No, it's gotten better, but I want to add to that real quick, Fernando. I think if let's just say there is an extended lockout, by then I think we're all assuming the Dodgers are going to three-peat. So, like right now, the kings of the town are the Dodgers, but people can fall back on the Lakers because especially by then, LeBron should be gone. So people will probably get reinvested in basketball because right now, this is a baseball city. You can't argue it, dude. Like, people have been turned off to basketball since Kobe retired, and the Dodgers have been good. So, yes, it will hurt LA, but they'll get over it.
Yeah, that's fair. The city of LA has been pretty spoiled with winning lately, right? Say what you want about the Mickey Mouse 2020 year. If we're counting that, you have both the Lakers and the Dodgers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Medical environment, we're counting that. You had the Rams, 2 years after that? What year were the Rams? 2022?
2021 or two, yeah, around there.
Yeah. I'm sure some people let us know in the comments. There's got to be tons of Rams fans watching this. It wasn't too long ago the Kings were winning championships. You know what I mean? So all this to say, I mean, the city of Los Angeles and the greater area has been spoiled by sports championships. But all that to say, look, I think the Angels front office is right on the money on these 1-year deals. We have no idea what's going to happen with that lockout. And because of that, I don't think it's a great idea to sign these deals that might not be super beneficial. Because hypothetically, the biggest thing that is going to be, debated between the Players Association and the owners is the owners that want a salary cap. Do all owners want that? Of course not. But there is quite a few, and from what it seems like, more of them want the salary cap than don't want the salary cap. Now, will the richest owners, your Steve Cohen's, your Google poo-poo group from the Dodgers, will they get what they want? Maybe. You know what I mean? Money talks, right?
Mm-hmm.
What side of the aisle is Rob Manfred going to be on? Because the owners, probably for the first time in a long time, are not going to fully agree here. So with that being said, let's play devil's advocate and say there is a salary cap implemented. Do I think it's going to happen? I don't believe so. But if it does happen, you don't want to be stuck with a bunch of giant contracts that you can't pawn off. Because what if it does happen? What are the Dodgers and the Mets going to do? Because you're going to have to get rid of some of those albatross contracts. And especially for the Dodgers, you're going to have a lot of aging players here probably in the next 2 or 3 years that really aren't all that competitive. I know we're all praying for those days. I'm just hoping the baseball gods don't completely poop on all of us and say, no, Freddie Freeman's going to be good till he's like 50.
Yeah, I think right now we're all, last year we kind of got upset with the situation because we were like, man, a few players would have made a difference, in getting some of these better players. And they, the Angels didn't want to sign 1-year contracts last year. And that seems like all they could get outside of Kikuchi. And you figured, okay, what are you going to do this year? And the sense from the offseason starting after the World Series was everybody's like, man, doom and gloom in 27, 26, we're all in, but we're, like you said, we're not given massive contracts. So for a team that just was all in on 1-year deals last year, and let's just be frank, the 1-year deals they signed last year, the players they could have gotten this year to improve a squad that's meh at best, really could have made a difference. And to see for instance, with Moncada, I think we signed him last year for a 1-year, $10 million contract. We get him 1 year, 4, because the market went way down. So guys that, like Suarez hit 49 home runs. He just signed with the Reds the other day for $15 million 1 year. He would have gotten like 2025 in a long-term deal had there not been the strike looming. A lot of these players, that's why Valdez is still out there. A ton of players are still out there to make a difference, but the Angels don't want to make that move. And this is the year it's frustrating because like Luis Arias, Minnesota Fats says right there, they, Arias could have made a difference with the Angels. And Suarez too, man. We were talking off air. You said that Arias wanted to play second base. Bam, give him the spot. Let Moore continue to work on his game in AAA or as a bench player, and then you could have thrown Suarez in right at third base, and bam, there you go. Instead, we still got a mismatched team where, again, we're signing guys that had potential years ago. We're signing guys on really dirt cheap contracts. When again, other guys who would go for 3 times the amount are going for under 10 million. I mean, we lost our closer for under 10 million and a second-year player option. So ARTE was right when it comes to the way that he as an owner saw this coming. But he's also like, well, I don't want to spend too much money either. When you can actually contend with just a couple additions. Fernando, that's what drives me crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, there's a point here. Eugenio Suarez did not have that great of a second half. He's another Taylor Ward. Now, the difference is Eugenio Suarez isn't just kind of a flat path, all or nothing type hitter like Taylor Ward was. And I do think Suarez would have not been as much of a defensive liability as Ward, right? Because that was always Ward's biggest thing. If Taylor Ward is batting 6th or 7th in your lineup and he's a full-time DH, I think Taylor Ward's one of your better guys in the lineup. But when you're having to throw him in left field, he's giving you that subpar defense that we saw for years. This was not a flash in the pan that we saw Taylor Ward. We saw Taylor Ward play his entire major league career so far as an Angel. Now, it'll be interesting to see what he does over in Baltimore. I can see him having a really good year this year. You know, it's a contract year for him. He's going to want a big payday. Now, he is in his 30s already, so he's going to slowly be exiting his prime. But he's going to have some very beneficial hitting situations for him over there. But I think Suarez would have been a great addition to this team. I think Luis Arias, as you already said to your point, could have been a great addition to this team. And 1 year, what was it, $10 million? You said he went for the Giants.
Yeah,
it's a doable contract for us.
Oh, very doable for a contact hitter. Shoot, sign me up all day.
Yeah, especially for a guy that wants to play second base. The Angels don't have a second baseman just yet. You know, everyone's probably going to say, hey, Christian Moore. But you know what? Christian Moore hasn't proven that yet, which is why not only is this the year to sign one-year guys because of the lockout looming, but it's also the year to sign one-year guys, stopgap guys, because some of these guys should, in theory, start pushing some of those veterans out, right? Make guys like Matthew Lugo earn the spot at third base or left field. Nelson Rada is only going to get closer to being major league ready. I hope that's not this year. But hey, you know what? If all of a sudden he starts hitting and he just needs a spot at the major level because you can't deny it anymore, that's a good problem to have. Have that problem when it arises. That's not something we've seen here in Anaheim for a long time. We haven't had a prospect that we've just been, itching to get up here, and they're just so undeniably good that they earn the spot at the major league level. But that's what's supposed to happen in a well-run organization. And we've officially hit the part of the podcast where we've licked Artie's boots enough on the one-year deal. Let's talk about the fact that the one-year deals they've given have been to the wrong people. Now, you and I don't hate the Yoan Moncada signing. 1 year, $4 million. That's great, right?
Yeah.
Historically, everybody, yes. You were pretty happy off air in the group chat that we got Yoan Moncada on a 1 year, $4 million deal. I don't hate that signing. I don't think you do either.
No.
He was decent enough for us last year. I believe the number you were looking for was $5 million last year, if memory serves correctly. Please correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but I think he signed a 1 year, $5 million contract last year. Essentially the same thing this year. We got him for $1 million cheaper. That's a good deal. I take that deal 10 out of 10 times. I think Yoan Moncada is going to bat 240, 260. Is this going well? I think he's going to be in the 15 home run range. His defense was serviceable enough there. And, he was battling injuries last year. So I think no matter what happens, you're going to get $4 million worth out of the guy. But there's just other options that we could have signed. Ha-Seong Kim went to the Braves. 1 year, $20 million. That was a guy who was really high on my offseason list. Another guy who's going to bat about 230 or so. He can hit for a little bit of the power. He's in that 20 home run range when he's healthy, which is great. Not too much, not too little. He does still drives and runs. Great defense over at second base. He can also play shortstop. So I think that would have been reliable. No matter which way you slice or dice, I think the Angels really should have locked in a second baseman this offseason. There's still a little bit of time, but I don't think it's going to happen. And I really think they missed the boat because I think they're expecting they're going to get a lot more out of Christian Moore or out of these 4A guys that they just signed.
I think the bigger picture is what Artie's trying to look at right now. He's trying to figure out, because now they're starting to seriously ramp up the talks about the stadium deal. You got the looming strike, and he's got the inside information. He should know the lay of the land, get the pulse of everything of that the owners are talking about, along with the Players Association. He should know pretty well what's going to happen as far as the league's potential lockout in 2027. With that being said, yes, those players you talked about would have been great. Sort of like when we talked about, or I told you, man, maybe you could have gotten 2 players for $35 million, which is Valdez and Suarez, and you could have used both of them, and they could have immediately brought the team up to another level. Now, this team will not rebuild, which sucks, which means we have a lot of players that that don't have what do you call it? They have potential. Kyron Paris, Moore, and all these other guys who right now appear to be 4A until different. Now, my only hope is like Brady Anderson and John Mayberry, who are very good hitting instructors as far as the way they're going to teach them to play a little bit old school. And I'm kind of just I'm believing the hype when it comes to they're going to change a lot of these guys' approach, which hopefully shoots the batting averages up to where they could kind of stop sucking the of analytics a little bit and start to work on trends and actual play to the speed of this team. This team has a lot of speed. We have a lot of speed and depth, just not the power hitting. So as long as we lay off trying to hit for the fences, I think we'll be in good shape. Now, when it comes to the overall team, I think you have to think about it like this too. When we talked about this off there, the elephant in the room has gone from number 6 to now number 27. And with a looming lockout, does Artie want to does he want to pay 30 some odd million for a guy who's not going to do nothing but golf while they're doing the lockout? If ever there was a time to move him, somehow, some way, move him. And I think it comes down to Kikuchi and other players like that are going to be paid during 2027. And there's a good chance you're not going to get anything out of them, any production, because the season might not go. So maybe long-term, Artie's thinking 2028, when we all come back, I'm going to put some money into this team. Now, if that's the case, Fernando, he's got to gut a lot of these leftover contracts. And if you're telling me, hey, we're going to play for 28 and we're going to get rid of as much payroll as possible, and that way we could see if there is a floor and a ceiling cap that we could work with and we could contend, I just might believe it.
Yeah, you brought up the Trout trade. Right here, we have Sega talking about the fact that we're entertaining Trout trades. Now, that was Randy has been doing the graphics lately, and he's kind of been floating the idea of trading Trout. Now, little peek behind the curtain. Over the last couple of years, I don't know if Todd will step up to the plate on this one. Todd's wanted to see Trout get traded. Now
for 2 years.
Yeah, for 2 years. I at first thought that was blasphemous. Over the years, I have softened on the idea. And the biggest reason for that is there comes a time where you are no longer as beneficial to the team, right? And right now, the Angels will benefit more from $35 million of cap space than they would from one $35 million player. Even if Trout was still an MVP, right? Let's take the injury out of it the last couple of years. If Trout was fully healthy, let's just say he would have been a 4-time MVP winner at this point, hypothetically. The Angels would still benefit more from 4 to 5 players for that $35 million than one $35 million player. So I think naturally, if there was an environment where a team is calling you about one Michael Nelson Trout, you have to at least listen and not just hang up immediately. If this was 2019 when Trout signed that extension, look, everyone who is a true Angels fan was thrilled when Mike Trout signed that extension. Todd, I'm sure you were. We hadn't really started talking yet. I was thrilled. I drove up from San Diego to that press conference, went straight to the Angels team store, bought that loyalty t-shirt. I was all about it, man. I was sipping the Kool-Aid. Artie could have done no wrong at that point. Artie's on the Epstein list. Who cares? He signed Mike Trout. You know what I mean? It did not matter at that point. I was all in. Look, everyone who's a part of this network and who's listening on this network. By the way, that Epstein thing was a joke. I have to preface that, of course. That's a bit dramatic, but you get what I'm saying. The point is, we were all Halo honks at one point, right? Before we kind of started to realize, you know what? This Kool-Aid isn't as sweet as it used to be, right? In 2009, the organization could seemingly do no wrong. We were still in our glory days. The Angels were making the playoffs, but those days are gone. We have now started to sour and kind of take the organization for what it is. It's an organization that routinely does the wrong thing. It's an organization that clearly has to get called out for things before they decide to do the right thing. Anybody can do the right thing when people are watching, but it takes a good player, a good front office, and a credible organization to do the right thing when nobody is watching. Right? Look what happened. I'm sure you heard about the article that Sam Blum made about that one player that got in a car accident, right? And the Angels were going to not pay his insurance. But Sam Blum made the article, talked about this player's journey. And the Angels decided to, you know what? Now that people know that this is the thing, we're now going to pay this guy's insurance. My point is, why do the Angels always have to get called out before they decide to do the right thing?
Well, unfortunately, I was hoping that the Angels would be more like my ex-wife, meaning I wish that they would be like, I wish they would be like, we're not going to listen to you, but we'll eventually listen to somebody else and we'll make that change. But ARTE doesn't even listen to the media, doesn't listen to the fans. It's his way or the highway. What's up, Angel's grandma?
Angel's grandma.
I just gotta say that it's frustrating to know that ARTE's willing to do whatever he wants to do, but literally the right thing to do, what the fans want, he doesn't want to give them that, and that's what sucks. And I believe when we talked off air and we were talking about, that the thing is, who's going to take that contract? That always comes up when Trout is there, talk about trade. But if you think about how long it took him to make the Rendon move, which was obvious from the get-go 2 years in that was a terrible move. Look how long he almost, made the whole contract. Same thing with Pujols. You should have cut him a couple of years prior to that, to wait until the last minute. With Trout, I think it's going to be the same thing, and it's unfortunate because if you trade him, you came up with a good point off air. You said, hey, man, he would fit good in Chicago with the Cubs. And, the wind blowing out of that stadium, the outfield's not that bad. If the Angels eat 13 of that 35, I'm sure that's fair enough for the Cubs to be like, okay, we'll throw you a couple scrubs and a guy that's possibly good enough to be on your major league roster, which at this point is anybody. But that would be a good move. You're shedding $22 million. You're getting rid of a long-term deal. Yes, you'd have to pay 13, but that's just like the Dodgers, deferring it and don't worry about it. And you're able to hit a reset button without announcing you're hitting the reset button. And I think as much as Angels fans would be like, no, my God, not Mike Trout, not the Messiah of the Angels. It's like, look, I love the guy. I never said I hated the guy. But baseball eventually catches up to you if you don't adjust. And it's clear as freaking day. He has not adjusted to the fastball. He has not changed his stance. He's still getting paid like the best player in baseball when he's clearly not. And he hasn't been reliable. So I am not going to sit here and justify as a observer, as a fan, the need to keep this guy on the roster. If someone is holding you down like Rendon was for so many years, get rid of him. I mean, the fans at this point over the last years doing this podcast with you, Fernando, and others that have joined the show, I've come to realize that at times, although we're not paid to make decisions in this organization at all, me, you, and those watching right now have more knowledge and more wherewithal to make the necessary changes for the betterment of the team than the people who are actually in charge. And that's sad.
Yeah, I mean, not even sounding like a homer, I guarantee most people watching this could have probably made some better decisions than the organization over the last 10 years. I guarantee you most of us wouldn't have signed Anthony Rendon. The writing was on the wall there. Was he the best third baseman at the time? Sure. But the Angels clearly just went to the next big name off the board once Garrett Cole signed, right? I mean,
Correct.
there's some moves that I don't think would have been made by 90% of these listeners. Now, has Perry made some good moves? Sure. I think it would be unfair to say he didn't. I will give the devil his due for drafting Zach Neto. A lot of fans didn't like the Zach Neto drafting. Sure, were we excited? Sure. I mean, we had his coach on literally the next day.
Oh, yeah.
So we were excited. But I don't think a lot of people saw him being, as of right now, the best player of that entire first round of draft picks. But there's still time. You never know what will happen. But Zach Neto, great pick as of now. There's just my biggest complaint is what everyone of our audience members has said over the last 5 years in Perry Manassian's tenure here. It's been an organization that has just been a dog chasing its tail. There has been no real sense of direction. They're making the right decision this year, giving 1-year contracts, but they're not even giving out the right 1-year contract. Luis Arias, we already said it, would have been a great 1-year deal. Let's talk about some of these other 1-year contracts that have been signed. We already talked about Moncada coming here. James McCann, 1 year. Obviously, we don't need him. We already have 2 catchers at the moment. Cedric Mullins, 1 year, $7.5 million plus an option, perhaps. Miguel Rojas, 1 year, $5.5 million with the Dodgers. Speaking of the Dodgers, Bruce Gratterall, 1 year, $2.8 million. Michael Lorenzen, old friend of the past, 1 year, $8 million deal with the Rockies. Personally, I would have rather brought Lorenzen back than giving Alek Manoah the money. Maybe I'm crazy. Let me know. Do you guys agree? I would have rather have given Michael Lorenzen a certified innings eater, a local kid who likes this organization, wants to stay local, a 1-year deal over Alek Manoah. Now, Alek Manoah is a 6th, 7th spot in the rotation. He's kind of that bubble between your 4A guys and a major leaguer. Great. I've got no problem with that. I don't think you do either. But I'm picking Lorenzen over Alek Manoah. Todd, am I crazy?
Not at all, because again, Lorenzen was nothing but good, and when he left here too, he's done phenomenal things no matter where he's pitched. I think it was Kansas City. I forget the other teams he's been on. And it's frustrating to see that they're out there making moves, or that they can get these players or keep these players. And then one thing I want to bring up, the interview that Trent Rush did with our boy Shonawell. And Shonawell came out there and said 2 things that bugged me. The first thing he said, speaking of Alex Manoah, he says, well, the additions of Grayson Rodriguez and Alex Manoah to the rotation is going to be fantastic to watch what they do. So you've already given Manoah the 5th spot, or at least you gave him a spot in the rotation. Shouldn't he have had to earn that? Like you said, shouldn't he had to have been like a spot starter / innings eater when the guy in the gets hurt, or maybe he can't go more than 2 or 3 innings? Why is he running, already getting a spot, number one? Then number 2, Trent Rush goes, hey, Shonawell was very bullish about the team this year. And he comes out there and Shonawell's like, yeah, I think with the additions we've made to the team, and I'm thinking to myself, what additions, bro? What additions? Outside of the trade, nothing else has come that's blown the socks off anybody. And he goes, I think we're going to be, quote, surprising people. Now, I told you my thoughts about that, and I'll put it out there. When a player says we're going to surprise people, you're pretty much saying, hey, we're going to suck, but if you come to a weekend series, we could beat, Toronto 2 out of 3. We could surprise Boston 2 out of 3. We could actually win in Dodger Stadium 1 game or 2 games. We could surprise somebody. You're not out there saying, hey, I have every confidence in this team that we're going to contend. You can't even say that. You can't even come out and say, hey, I have all the confidence that we're going to fight for that division, or we're going to be in the mix for a wild card. When the players have no faith in the team, I mean, they're saying it without saying it. I mean, the fans aren't stupid. And I think that's what's hard because in a season where they could have cleaned up on these 1-year contracts and really added something, at least make a push before we miss some baseball, maybe some significant time in baseball. They don't do it. And instead, other teams get better, and we're still sitting right there.
Yeah, I think the Angels could have used this as a very good opportunity to try to get better for dare I say, the 2027 season and beyond. Because unfortunately for them, that's really when this window is supposed to open. You're really hoping that Logan O'Hoppe can save his career, because in my opinion, if Logan O'Hoppe has a down year, it might be time to look another direction for a catcher. I like Logan O'Hoppe. I like his attitude. I like what he brings. I do think he can be that guy. But last year, to start the year, we were having the conversations of, is this Logan O'Hoppe's team or is this Zach Neto's team? Right now, if you tell me that this is Logan O'Hoppe's team, I'm going to ask you what you're smoking. But I do think that this is Zach Neto's team.
Absolutely.
Gamer. He is a potential all-star, future Gold Glover. I think he's all that in a bag of chips. Will he ever be an MVP? That I don't think. But I've been wrong before, and I'm hoping I'm wrong about that. I'm hoping that Zach Neto can take that step. But I do think Zach Neto is face of the franchise type guy. He has been consistent. Can he stay healthy for a full course of the year? Let's all hope. Everyone knock on the nearest piece of wood, because we're all going to hope that we can see a full, what do you think is fair? 140 games out of Zach Neto? Because I don't think he's going to play a full slate out at shortstop. It's too demanding of a position.
I think he's such a grinder and it's such a gamer. I could see him playing 156, dude. I literally can. You just think about this, Fernando. He's a type of hitter that, if let's just say the Yankees were to get their grimy hands on him and he's the shortstop, you realize what a star he would be in New York, bro. All those home runs he'd hit to that short perch and left. I mean, just the plays he would make that he already makes here in Anaheim, but he would become a New York icon like that, because he's everything that you want in a winner. You could ship him to Atlanta. He could play in other places and be the leader just like that. But he goes to New York, a place like that, he instantly becomes an icon because he's just got that something about him. And I think players want to rally around him. And I think that's the shame of this whole thing. The Angels could be building around Neto and have Trout as a nice side piece. He does not have and never will be a leader, but he could be a nice little, secondary third player. And it sucks to say that, but boy, you could build, if you really would focus in on free agents and be like, look, we're serious. We want to contend. Just look at our shortstop right here. Look at Shonawell. These two guys are it. These are going to be the pillars we're going to build around on the offensive side. We need other complementary players. I'm pretty sure if you show me the money, it'll work to bring in free agents. But free agents aren't dumb. They're just as smart as us fans. They know where to get the contracts from. And unfortunately, LA/Anaheim/OC/Western Hemisphere is not where to get them.
Yeah, and you know what? There was a time where we were the spot to go, right? And now we're just kind of a pawn in the game of, hey, in the game of chicken, hey, the Angels are going to offer them this, the Angels are going to offer them this. But you know what I mean? Being a fan of the Angels is – we've literally just been the side piece for years. You know what I mean? Being the Angels is the chair on the side of the bed of the hotels for any of the adults. You know what I mean? So that's what it's been, man. Dollar short, day late. We're used as leverage, and that's all we are. We're not the landing spot anymore that we used to be. You know what? Can we be one day? Sure. But you need a win to be there. And you know what? I don't think the Angels are making a mistake by not going all in this offseason. I know that's frustrating for us to hear. But, guys, you are what you are, right? If it walks like a duck, talks like a duck, walks like, it's an effing duck. That's what it is. That's where we are. We need to be honest about what we are. We are a team that still doesn't have an identity. Should that have been fixed after 17 left? Absolutely. Should it have been kickstarted by the Angels traded number 17 when they had a chance? Sure. You could have gotten 5 or 6 prospects. We really probably would have been talking about a competitive 2026 if one of those prospects would have hit. I think the Angels should have used this offseason to try to trade for a long-term third baseman or a long-term outfielder, because you don't really have much long-term in your outfield, right? You have number 27, Michael Nelson Trout, that's here till what, 2030? Mm-hmm. But once again, what's he going to be on the back half of his career? A DH. That's most likely what he is. Jorge Soler is out of here after this year, thank God. You have Nelson Rada, who hasn't quite made his way up here. Bryce Teodosio, who knows what he's going to be. The point is, you don't have a guy in Sharpie that you can write in there in 3 years, because I think Joe Adell's a free agent after 2027. So there's a very good chance that this could be his last year as an Angel if there is a 27 lockout. So all that to say, we don't have much, Todd, to look forward to. So perhaps you could have traded one of these 4A pitchers we have, Sam Alderghetti. There's going to be a lot of people bite my head off, but Caden Dana. If you could trade Caden Dana away for a controllable infielder to help out guys like potentially Moore, Neto, and Shanuel, I think you do that, because you do have a lot of upper pitching depth right now. And for the time being, you do have Caden Dana. You have Ryan Johnson, that I don't think is too far off. He had a really good year in the minors. I think another full year in the minors, he should be potentially ready for next year. As a legitimate rotation piece. George Clausen, we still don't know what we're going to get out of him. Sam Alderghetti is still a bit of a question mark. But my point is, you could have at least moved on from one of those guys to help this young core, get a little better, a little more solidified.
I agree. And what about this one right here? 3 Strange says, would you take a shot at Denzer Guzman? He did have a good end to the season. He was pretty hot. Actually, one of the only hot hitters to end the season last year. So would you take a shot at him at third base?
At this point, I think you have to kind of go in with an open mind at third base, because, Yoan Moncada, sure, you signed him on a 1-year, $4 million contract, but you're not paying him enough for it. He's the opening day third baseman. In my opinion, Kyron Paris has an amazing spring training, and you got to put him at third base. That's something you should consider. Christian Moore has an amazing spring training. You consider him at third base. Honestly, at $4 million, you have to consider anybody there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I got another question for you real quick, and this is just to go to I believe the Pittsburgh Pirates have passed us by just because of their rotation. Their rotation is sick going into the 2026 season. Their bullpen is really good. But they lack a few hitters on, and for whatever reason, they haven't bulked up that hitting, because outside of, I guess, was it Chicago and Milwaukee, they could catch those teams with some good hitting. But my point is, let me ask you this. With that being said, we're now way under the Pirates because of just Skeens alone. Are we better than the Marlins, the A's, the Rockies, and the White Sox? Do we jump any of those teams, or do you consider those 4 teams better than us?
Real quick, just to answer Jim, I think Ben Joyce will be May to June-ish from if all goes well.
Gotcha.
I don't know. Honestly, call me crazy. I think we are right now on paper the worst team in the AL West by far. Seattle just got significantly better, right? They just got an all-star today, and Brandon Donovan.
Correct.
So they continue to get better. I think they are the team to beat in the division this year. What do you think? I think Seattle's probably going to run away with the AL West, bearing a lot of injuries or anything.
I think Houston will give it a run, but in the end, I think you're right. I think Seattle will wind up with it.
Yeah, Houston always seems to be in the conversation for whatever reason. Last year was the first year in a long time they didn't make the playoffs?
Yes.
Texas has a very good potential starting rotation. If all goes well for Texas, they could have one of the better pitching rotations in the American League. Seattle still has a very good rotation themselves. I know they did have an injury as well, but I don't know, dude. We really haven't taken any strides forward. Honestly, I'm almost debating if I should say that on paper, I think we're one of the worst teams in the American League right now. Seriously. Guys, before you guys come at me, put down the pitchforks real quick. Let's talk about it. Chicago White Sox are even getting significantly better. I think I almost called them Oakland. I think the Athletics have taken some steps forward.
Yeah, it's
really realistically, what have we done? We've signed a lot of guys who are has-beens or guys who were just hoping Mike Maddox could just squeeze a little bit of talent left out of him, right? Kirby Yates was good with him in Texas. Can we get a little bit more out of him? Can we get one more good year out of him before he starts to get closer and closer to retirement? Guys, Mike Maddox isn't going to fix everybody, right? With work, he might be able to fix 3 or 4 guys, but he's not going to be able to fix everybody. But, I honestly, who do you think is worse than us in the American League right now?
I would have said the Chicago White Sox, but you've already debunked that. There's you could go to the AL East and that whole division. I mean, Tampa can rise to. I mean, all those teams can go from 5th to 1st in the AL East. The Central is
like a collapse too. You know what I mean? AL East is so crazy.
Yeah, because I think maybe the Twins may be coming down to earth more closer to us, but outside of the Twins, because with what we talked about off air, I think the White Sox are better than the Twins as of this moment. And then I can't say the A's. Like I'm comparing this team to probably the worst in the AL and slightly better than the Rockies and Marlins. Slightly. So I can't. It's so sad because I was telling my dad the other day, I said, do you know who's the only team in Major League Baseball history not to have 100 losses? And he thought we already had 100 losses. I'm like, Dad, as much as you know about baseball and Angels baseball, you forgot that we've never lost 100. And he's like, do you think they're going to do it this year, son? I'm like, I'm not rooting for it, but it's definitely a possibility.
Yeah, and a lot of people like to bring that up. Hey, we're the only organization that's never lost 100 games. Guys, that's not a good thing either. Once again, a dog chasing their tail. You're not going anywhere. That's the thing. Say what you want about Houston. They had, 5 straight 100-loss seasons? But they also won 2 World Series. Was one of them cheated? Absolutely. But they still won at least one legitimate World Series, right?
Yes.
I'm just saying, guys. Eventually, if you lose enough, you're supposed to start winning eventually as you get these top draft picks. If you do it right. But once again, dog chasing their tail. We never seem to go anywhere.
Yeah,
I know we slowly got to put a bow on it.
All I'm saying is we never hit the reset button. You've been crazy about that. I've been crazy about that. The fact that you brought up the Ohtani thing still stings because the amount of players we could have got just for the one dude, and a lot of things could have been different had this organization been more aggressive and shown the rest of the league, like, yes, we're gonna be down for a little bit, but you got to trust the process. Look, give it to me like the freaking Sixers did with their fans. Trust the process. We're going to suck for a little while. At least they were transparent and let their fans know, listen, you get through this 3 or 4 year stretch, we're going to be good. Now, did the Sixers win a title? No. Well, have they been habitually in the playoffs? Yes. Is it easier? Yeah, but is it easier in basketball to get to playoffs? Yes, it is. But they've made it easier for baseball. So my final thought is, if they would have just been honest with us, if they had a game plan, a lot more fans would not be so displeased like me and you and others. We would be more glass half full, more invest. We already are invested, but we'd be even more invested because we know there'd be a light at the end of the tunnel. Like right now, we're just like, well, maybe the strike is the light at the end of the tunnel. But even then, for me, it's still foggy as hell, bro.
Yeah. I mean, look, it's going to be a long baseball season, but I am hopeful that some of these guys will have career years. Look, am I hoping that Nolan Chania was correct and this team surprises us? Of course.
Yep.
I think a lot of people misconstrue, like some people just think we're haters. Guys, we've done this for 5 years. Todd and I not only haven't made much money from this, we've lost so much money from this project. To Todd more than me.
I write it off of my taxes every year.
Yeah, exactly. Uncle Sam's going to come over and like slap you one day and be like, why are you so stupid, bro? Why do you support this team? Anyway, my point is, guys, if we didn't absolutely love this team, we wouldn't be covering this team. There's not much to cover. Let's face it. And if you guys didn't love this team, you wouldn't be listening to people like us or some of these other podcasts, the Lockdowns of the world, the Halos territory, talking Halos, etc. You guys love this team. That's why you follow the pages, you listen to the podcast. It consumes your time. And you know what? This organization has some hardcore devoted fans. We know who the fake fans were because they already went up to 5 with number 17. Todd and I laugh about it all the time. There's so many fans of this page that, you know what, they're still fans of Todd and I. They'll still message us. They're Dodger fans now because they left with number 17. So yeah, Todd and I, it's kind of an inside joke for us. But my point is, guys, you guys are as devoted as we are. We do this because we want to see this team win, but we have to call out the good. We have to call out the bad. And the good is this is the year to give out 1-year contracts. The bad is you gave it to the wrong people. Yoan Moncada was kind of the only 1-year deal I was okay with. The bullpen guys, I'm a little more whatever about. If there's one thing that Locked On says all the time that I agree with is the bullpen is volatile. I agree with that. Todd agrees with that. You know what I mean? With the bullpen, no problem, dude. Put on a blindfold, go to the gun range, and shoot. Eventually, you're going to hit a bullseye on a target, right? It's a bullpen. It does not matter. Remember when we got Aaron Loop? Remember when we got Ryan Teheran, right? Did I say that last name right?
Julio Teheran?
No, that was a pitcher. Ryan Tepera, right?
Tepera,
Guys, please. Yeah, okay. We were all super excited when we signed those guys. Why? Because those two guys were coming off of career years. Aaron Loop was incredible with the Mets when we got him. I think he had a 1-point-something ERA, if memory serves me. Sure, that was back in the old days when you could just be a lefty specialist when you weren't able to face a minimum of 3 batters. But that doesn't change the fact that he was coming off of a career year, and we were excited because we just got 2 of the best bullpen arms available. They didn't work out. Why? Because bullpen arms are they are what they are. You're great, you're not great. So I don't mind taking flyers on bullpen arms. I don't mind giving 1-year deals to whoever at the bullpen. Great. Some of those guys are going to rise to the top. Some are going to sink to the bottom. That's why it's a 1-year deal, right? Cut your losses. But for position players, for starting pitchers, they've given up the wrong 1-year deal. Alek Manoah, why? Unless he is a true depth piece, why? But I'll let it go because I know we are running out of time.
Yeah, and it's just and the thing is to just play off your thing right now, the lockout and the TV money, that's part of it. It's not the main thing, but it does affect certain teams. Jay Cano, and then I'll just say this though. Covering the Ducks, me and Dominique have covered the Ducks. And this is a team that, has had 7 years of bad luck. And now they've turned it around, got a youthful team, did the rebuild. Pat Verbeek has got the Ducks flying high, no pun intended. And they have a real shot to make the postseason, and they're a fun team. When I do the post-game shows with Dominique or even the podcast, it's refreshing to talk about what's in the rink. Not outside of it, not the politics to it, not the league. We're just talking about, hey, who's in first place? What can the Ducks do to improve? Should they make a trade? They're playing really good. The goaltending's been good. Me and Fernando have not gotten to that point in this podcast to be like, hey, let's stick within the lines, the foul lines. Let's talk about the lineup. They're batting .220 on the infield, but the outfield's hitting .333. They've won 5 out of 7. The pitching looks good. We're staying within 2 games of first place. Let's see what they do against this 3-game set in Chicago. Doesn't that sound fun? But we haven't been able to talk like that. This entire time, me and Fernando have had maybe a glitch here or a glitch there of a big winning streak or some sort of prolonged goodness of a month to where we could honk our honks and feel good about the team and forget about the outside interference. But it's been few and far between. And I think that for me as a podcaster and a guy who is invested just like as much as Fernando is and loves this team so much, that's what hurts the most because we can't provide you, the fans, and be excited for us at the same time to broadcast something good, give you good news, give you good updates, give you the fans' reaction of a game-winning hit on a multi-night basis. We can't do that. And it's frustrating for so many reasons.
Absolutely. I mean, there are a lot of people like to blame the owners for better or worse, right? I mean, I live here in the Metroplex, and here it's all the Cowboys fans. Oh, it's Jerry Jones. It's Jerry Jones. Jerry Jones is very similar to Art Moreno, where they meddle a lot. But, to me, what makes a good owner is making sure the franchise always has a path. That doesn't always necessarily mean winning, right? You don't need to win to be a good owner. But what you need is to make sure there is a plan. There's nothing wrong with a full rebuild, especially in baseball. Basketball, you don't need a full rebuild, right? You just don't. You need one, maybe two guys, and those guys can get you to that next level, right? Football, you need, what's the minimum? Maybe like 6 to 7 true game-changing guys, right? You need a system quarterback. You need an average to above-average running game. And then if you have even just average wide receivers and you have a good defense around them, that's going to get you at least into playoff contention. But in baseball, you really, really need a team of 9 guys and 2 to 3 solid bench pieces to get you. That's why it's so hard to win in baseball. I was saying that you can't just buy championships, but the Dodgers have proven that wrong because for the greater part of the last 20 years, you haven't been able to buy championships. But we have to give the devil credit where it's due. Not only do the Dodgers spend money, but they spend money in the right areas. They invest it not only at the major level, but they also invest it in their minor leagues. That's something we don't do here. We don't invest in the minor league programs. We don't invest in player development. We have one of the worst. We have one of the smallest scouting departments. We have some of the most basic facilities out there, but that's a topic for another day. We're trying to be positive, and we're trying to give Artie credit where it's due. Hey, Artie, good job on the 1-year deals. Actually, no sarcasm. It was the right decision.
Yeah, absolutely. What a way to wind it up right there. Those are some good points, man. Compare and contrast, because it is a lot more difficult to rebuild in baseball, but it's doable if the right levers are pulled.
Absolutely.
This is going to be our format. We're probably going to make these pictures a little bit bigger. That's just it's a test for it's kind of small.
That one meme where like squinting his eye trying to look at the little paper.
Yeah, we're going to put some Viagra on the screen. It's going to get a lot bigger. Trust me.
Hey, no free ads. No free ads. But Viagra, Blue Chew, anything like that, you let us know. Rose
Sparks, baby. But we got a lot of baseball to talk about. A lot of things coming up here. The channel's entering its 5th year. We've got a lot of cool things with sponsors. We got more info on opening day. A lot of cool stuff to talk about. We'll get more into that as the season goes. And by the way, Fernando, hopefully you can join me because we're going to do some post-game shows for the World Baseball Classic, especially when Team USA plays or there's a big game with Mexico. We're going to feature that, so be on the lookout for that as we'll talk some World Baseball Classic with you and some Angels spring training. Any final thoughts, my man?
Well, dude, congrats to you. Your Hawks made it to the dance. Let's give us your score prediction. Well,
right now I'm thinking everyone thinks it's a walk in the park. I think it's gonna be a lot tighter than they're guessing, but I think Seattle wins 27-17.
Okay, there you go. So Todd is saying 27-17. Croom's Car, Hitty Podcast new sponsor, gas station Viagra. Yep, you're the Rhino pill. Rhino pills I have no idea what they're called. But I see them at every single gas station. It is universal across the board. Hey, if you're going to pay us, no problem. I don't know if I'd use them. I don't even yet.
I'd wear a shirt if I could, just a big-ass rhino on the front.
There you go. See, Todd will go up dressed as a clown with a bunch of rhinos all over him. You know what? We will send him to the stadium dressed as a rhino this year if they pay us enough money. I'm sure Todd would be down. Todd likes money.
Yeah, I'm my price isn't that high, so I'll do just about anything. Go Hawks indeed. Croom's Car. We'll see you next later in the week, possibly. We might do another pod depending on whatever happens.
Yeah, Yeah, we will definitely, especially, I'd like to talk World Baseball Classic. I'd like to talk about pitchers and catchers reporting. So we're definitely at the point now of the year where you guys are going to start seeing us a lot more. So make sure to follow us along, follow us on all the social medias at Halos in the Infield on absolutely everything possible. So, yeah.
Like and subscribe. And if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, hit up Halos in the Infield Podcast at yahoo.com. Or hit us up on here in the super chats. We'll read everything on. Also, we'll get to any other things that if you want us to interview certain players, we do have that kind of pool. We can pull some players. I'll give you that. Not the Mike Trouts, but we could do some things around that. So for Todd Fox and the Lone Star Halo, see you later.
Thank you all for watching the Halos in the Infield Podcast. Make sure to like and subscribe on your way out.